Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and StreamYard here. Drop any comments you have in the section wherever you see it. Let us know where you're calling in from. I'm calling in from Minnesota today. Kurt, where are you calling in from?
Corona, California for another couple weeks.
Awesome. I'll queue up a couple of questions so we can get it kicked off from our YouTube comments and Facebook comments from the last few days.
Sweet. And I've got my demo site on standby in case I need to help out.
Awesome. Content, comments. There we go. So
it's time to innovate.
Is that this song?
It's time to speculate. Lifters, the one and only.
Nice. But yeah, so our first question is this plugin has a certificate verification? So this is from YouTube. So this was on a video about getting started with LifterLMS certificates in 6.0. LifterLMS certificates had a major update a couple months ago. I mean, that was maybe a year ago now. I don't even remember when that was. But instead of using the traditional tiny MCE editor, it was using the block editor now. So now you can edit your LifterLMS certificates in the block editor. And this question was on a video demonstrating that. So there's a question about certificate verification. There's not a verification like a page or anything like that where someone can enter an ID for a certificate and verify it. But I guess I'm thinking through, have you ever done any setups like that, Kurt, where there needs to be some kind of verification for a certificate or some kind of an ID printed on a certificate? Because I think you can do an ID on a certificate, and then you would just have a contact form or something that would the website admin would check manually. It wouldn't be automatic, but it could be if you had custom development.
People that have done the custom fields and then embedded the custom field for, the user ID, the state program ID, the continuing education ID, that to me is what people generally mean when they say certificate verification. If they're asking how can I cross-reference some secret code or barcode to verify that I'm not looking at a counterfeit? No. In fact, I've never worked with an LMS that has anything like that. So I think with certificate verification, I think they're just referring to, is it for that person? Is there a way to show that it's for that organization, that person, or that purpose? And we should say, because I don't know that we say this enough, the certificate system in LifterLMS, it stores in the database all of the pre-issued certificates. So if you ever needed to reissue a certificate or to show evidence that someone had earned a certificate, it's stored within your reporting.
Yeah, all the certificates are there in reporting. I'm thinking through how to do a verification, because I vaguely remember there's an ID option on certificates. Let me just check that out real quick. I'll share my screen too. Let me pull this up, and I see we have some questions coming in from live viewers, so we'll dive into those here in a second. I just want to make sure that I've got this certificate template.
Yeah, Alex was asking about some of the dynamic stuff that comes in, through short code use. So we can dive into that when you finish this here.
Yeah, this is something that's dynamic from shortcode use. I'm trying to see, where did I see that option? It was when you're typing a LifterLMS paragraph, you have an option for merge codes and short codes. They're different. So here's this sequential ID thing. I've never used this. But I think what this does is it will create a each ID that's issued or each certificate that's created will have its own sequential ID. Yeah. So So it's going to create this is 0001, and then you got 2, 3, 4. So you could have a large ID number. I wonder, can we start this thing at a certain? We don't really have any options for starting it at a really high number or something like that. But yeah, then they could type into the system.
Like when you order new checks and you're on a new bank account, you're yeah, this is check 1,342,000.
Right. Yeah, so Lifter doesn't have that feature, but if you were to export custom development, each that's singing in the background. We could take a commercial break each time that the lyrics come around on this song.
It's too much of a distraction for you, Will.
Oh, no, it's fine. Yeah, the competition's left in a lurch, and now it's back to the music. But yeah, so that sequential ID thing could be used in custom development because each certificate that's issued knows what sequential ID it has. So if you were to export custom development, it wouldn't actually be too hard to say, create a little form, and then that form queries the database looking for a certificate matching that field, that ID field, and then returning some kind of value based on what it finds of like who that belongs to. But then you have to like look at privacy and stuff like that, because if I realize it's 000001 and then there's probably number 2 in there, I could just type that, and if it returns user data like the name of the person, then you're exposing user data to people who just typed in a random number into a contact form. So you have to take some of these things into consideration when doing custom development, but there is probably a way to do some kind of verification. Like if you were to do maybe like first name, last name, or first name, and then the sequential ID number in your contact form, in this custom contact form, and then that queries the database validating those 2 fields, it would probably be fine to give you a response. But that's kind of some of the legalities you got to think about when doing custom development. But we can move on. I'm going
Let's take a look at Alex. Alex wants to know how he can change the information that's shown up in the course information section.
Change the course information. Yeah. So this is a little bit buried in some ways, depending on the editor that you're in. If we go into any of my courses, I'll go to the Quick Start course example. The course information block is not on my course, so I want to do the course meta information. I think is it? Yeah, this one right here, course meta information. This can be found usually on this sidebar here. Over on the right, we have this course area, and then it's going to show categories like featured and technology. If I uncheck these boxes, it should remove categories if there's no categories that apply. Let me just reload. Give it a second to update. Then reload. I think categories should drop off here. Yep, so categories dropped off because there were no categories, but then for some of this other information, it's going to be in that same area on the sidebar. We've got difficulties, beginner is there. We've got course tracks, course tags, and then I think there's like course time period is another one of these course information items. It pulls in a bunch of content from various places. Let me see if I can find the...
For the time period, do you have to update the settings for course starts and course ends?
I don't think it's that one. It was more the this course takes 1 day thing.
Yeah.
That one I'm trying to find is I think Chris did it here. This is a custom sales page. This quick start course might have it. Estimated time, that's what I was looking for. Estimated time. And I haven't touched this thing in a minute. That's cadence settings. These are lifter settings. Is it in the block settings? Inherit from the course. So we can inherit the meta from different courses. So if you were to put this block on a different page, on your sales page, you could drop in the course information. It might be down here. Nope. I'll keep digging around for that in the background, but I know it's somewhere. It's just in the block editor and it's lost on me. So I'll keep digging that up, and then I'll pull it back up for where the rest of that comes in from.
Okay. And then as a follow-up, Alex also has that question, can I remove the course instructor section? And yeah, you can do it course by course, or you can do it with a tool that we have called LifterLMS, where you can remove it from all the courses at once.
Absolutely.
Alex was cool enough to say he's calling from Raleigh too.
Oh, cool.
Raleigh, I wonder if that's North Carolina. Raleigh, North Carolina, I think. There's a Honda store in Raleigh I used to work with.
Nice. I'm looking through our documentation right now. Oh, okay. So I had to reference the documentation to know the answer to this question. I'll put a link to this here in our StreamYard chat.
Right on.
And then, yeah, so the estimated length was a part of the block. So course information, I was using the wrong block. So yeah, this is the course information block. I don't want the meta information block. Meta information is something that you would put on your catalog. So if you're building like a custom catalog in Lifter, you don't like the Lifter catalog page, that's where that meta information block is used. And there's a different course information block that I just inserted here. And this information block has some settings that are important, like estimated completion time, and then you can choose which of these items are displayed right there on the page.
Nice.
Yeah, that was my problem there.
Nice. And then can you show them while you're in that screen how to get rid of the course instructor section?
Yeah, absolutely. So if you're working in the block editor, the course instructors should be...
Yeah, you didn't have that one there either.
Yeah, I've customized this one a little bit. Instructors, maybe? Yeah, so there's an instructors block right there. And so if we have this instructors block on our page, it's just going to populate their WordPress user bio, their role here, and we can edit their information from the right panel on this LifterLMS logo. Change them to instructor, whatever we want to call them, say whether or not they're visible, or if we want to remove the block entirely, what we would do is just click the three dots and remove the instructors, and it wouldn't even show.
Yeah, and then you can also change instructors in that same screen. You can, on the right-hand side, there's the option to swap out instructors or add a second instructor.
Yeah, so if I wanted Darian on my course, and there's the this little star is the primary instructor. And so we do have to change the order here. If I switch the order by clicking these three little dots and dragging them around, you can't delete this primary instructor, but once you have the second one, you can remove. See, I don't have an option to remove Darian, but that's because they're the primary. There has to be at least one that you can't remove. So what I would do is just move Darian there, remove Arthur, put my instructor block back on there, and then give it an update. Probably have to reload my page. It's going to update a couple times.
Might need to flush the cache at this point.
Yeah, possibly. I think this should work. Yeah, now
There's Darian,
my instructor.
Sweet. So I'm going to ask you one more thing while we're here.
Yeah.
Do you want to show them Lifter Labs while you're here?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Let's do that.
Yeah, so LifterLMS Labs, what were we taking a look at with Labs? Is that removing the instructor?
Removing the instructor, yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, LifterLMS is a free plugin on the WordPress repository called LifterLMS Labs. I don't know if it's on my website. Let me check. No, it's not. All right, so I would go to Plugins, Add New, and look up LifterLMS Labs. This one right here, Install Now by LifterLMS. This one adds a few features into the LifterLMS setup that are not included in the free plugin, the free core plugin. This is free too. But they're kind of experimental features or features that not everyone would use. So we just put them in a separate plugin because most users aren't going to work with this. But if you did want to work with it, it's free and it's available. And so these 5 options in the LifterLMS Labs plugin, this is all it does. It's not technically all it does, but it's most of what it does, is you can integrate with Beaver Builder a little more deeply. You can integrate with the Lifter Divi theme Lifter Divi a little bit more deeply. And the one we're going to be taking a look at is the Action Manager. And so if you were to work with Elementor or Divi or something like that, you might find on your pages, on your course pages, there's like a course instructor and a syllabus. It's like at the bottom of the page and you can't delete it. You go into your Elementor editor, you scroll to the bottom, and it's like it's not appearing in the Elementor editor, but it's still on the page. That happens when you edit with Elementor on a course page or edit with Divi or Beaver Builder or whatever. It brings in this old PHP template that applies to courses, because before we had blocks, we can just move things around and customize things. There was the classic editor where you had just that text editor. You just put your paragraph text, you could put some HTML or whatever, but there was nowhere you could edit the syllabus. And the other items on this page would be like tracks and course information and all this stuff. So what we did was there was a PHP template that would apply to the page, and it would populate these things. So when a user views a course, it shows them the syllabus, the instructors, and all that stuff. And so this is the panel where you can remove that information. So if you didn't want on the single course page the syllabus to display, we would check the box and save it. And so this is going to go into that old PHP code that applies to pages that are using some kind of classic editor, and it's going to remove the syllabus from those pages. And pages that are using the block editor don't need to worry about this, but if you're not using the block editor, you might run into some issues, so it's useful to know about how to remove items outside of the block editor.
Yeah, and then Alex had a follow-up question, but I don't think we need to really screen share it. I think we could just discuss it.
Yeah.
He was saying, I wonder if my block editor is messed up because WordPress course edit page, he doesn't see the blocks. But at the upper right-hand side of that edit page, there's like choices, right? So there's like the settings for WordPress, there's the LifterLMS menu, there's so different things that you can open up and have different access to on the right-hand side of an edit page.
Right. There's in every WordPress page, in the three dots up here in the corner, you have access to preferences at the bottom of the list. And this is what Kurt's talking about, where it shows what blocks are visible on this page. And so you might want to go in there and make sure that all your blocks are visible. There's so many blocks. So we would look at the instructor block, for example. That's one of the LifterLMS blocks. This box might be unchecked. And if this box is unchecked, the instructor block won't even show up for me when I start to search for it. So I need to make sure in my preferences that that's turned on. And it's turned on by default, so it shouldn't be turned off. But if, I don't know, someone was editing the site or something, it might have gotten turned off.
Someone got it messed up.
Yeah.
All right. I think we're done with Alex for a little bit. Kristen's asking some questions. She's asking some long questions, man. Something about certificates and quizzes and tests. Are you able to track what's going on here, Will?
Let me read that. Essentially, we're looking for the users to have an option to which credits they want to receive. So the user comes in, they take the course, and then either receive a type of credit or a different type of credit. Would need to have two separate quizzes, and the user could choose what the quiz to take. We're trying to avoid creating duplicates of a course in order to issue a certificate. So, I don't know. So you like she said, you could duplicate the course and have different certificate, different quiz on two different courses. I'm trying to think of how else you would do that. Because the Lifter engagement system doesn't let you do like conditional logic. It's just like complete course, there's a certificate, not complete course, if this, then do that. It doesn't really have that logic built in.
Yeah. The only thing I can think of, Will, is, we are compliant with grass blade and score material. So if she used a dynamic course building tool like Rise, Captivate, Articulate 360, something like that, she could have a choose your own path course where someone goes into that course and they go, which level of certification are you applying for? And then that course vectors off and goes, okay, well, you're going to be, 1, 2, 3, and then this one's going to be ABC. But it's still kind of a duplicate course, even though it's in the same window. And then, of course, you have all the complexities of Grassblade and SCORM and, LRS settings and synchronization and all that you might be going in deeper that way than if you just duplicated the course in the Lifter course builder and said, this is for 1, 2, 3, and this is for ABC.
Yeah, and another possible solution I was thinking of that might work here is, imagine we have the content course. So this would be like lessons, if you have 10 lessons, this would be lessons 1 through 9, and then the quiz is on that last lesson. And so we would have our content course, which is lessons 1 through 9, and then we'd have two separate courses that are just one lesson each, and each has the quiz and the appropriate certificate. And then on lesson 10, you'd have two free enrollment links for your users. They would go enroll into one of the two courses, and since they already have the user information, it would be like a one-click setup. They would see the button for course 1, they'd see the button for course 2, the PDP credit or the CEU credit, and then they basically take the same course, but then at the end they choose which test they're going to take by enrolling into the appropriate course, and then taking the test for that course. So it would be separate quizzes, separate certificates, but most of the content would be within one course. Did that kind of track? Make sense?
It does. It's it's difficult out in the real world, out in the marketplace, right? Because a personal development workshop might be $50, but a continuing education credit might be $1,500, right? So it's like there is a great disparity in the value that's brought based on the level of certification. So I understand the question. It's just fundamentally, when you think about the tools in work, it's more of a marketing exercise than it is a functional exercise.
Yeah. And I think if the content of the course is the same and they simply choose a different quiz, I would do that route where you choose, you enroll into one final course for your appropriate quiz to take, just a single lesson course with a quiz. And then the certificate would be triggered based on completing that mini course, which is just one lesson and a quiz. And that would be a free link, unless you wanted to make the content. That would be an interesting way to do it, is to make lessons 1 through 9 free, and then the quizzes are paid, because the quizzes are where you get the credit. But yeah, you can do that a few different ways.
I have a question that's completely unrelated for you, Will.
Yeah.
In my StreamYard screen at the top right-hand side, it says stream this to your audience in a big blue button. Does yours do that? Like, I thought we were already streaming. It says we're live.
Yeah, we're live. We got. I think you can add your own destinations, like your personal LinkedIn and stuff, as someone joining. I think if you click on that, it'd say like, "Hey, do you want to sign into Facebook and stream as Kurt?"
Well, that's new. Never saw that before.
Yeah, I think that's what that's going to do, because that's what Chris did. Because we can stream to Chris's personal Twitter from here, but I don't do that. I used to, but then it got just kind of strange. It's like Chris Badgett's live, and it's Will and Kurt.
Welcome to the Will and Kurt show.
Yeah.
Yesterday, I got a notification in Facebook that you were live, and I got all excited, and it was just Chris.
Oh.
He was talking to that lady about writing books.
Interesting. Yeah, I wonder how that happened. I don't have my accounts hooked up to this program.
I don't know. Crazy days. Hey, a completely other unrelated thing to talk about, but it's kind of related because sometimes people embed Zoom into their websites. Did you see yesterday where Zoom changed their privacy terms and conditions?
I did see that check mark when I tried to sign into Zoom today. I'm like, get this pop-up away, and I just logged in. Was there anything important in there?
Yeah, there's a pretty big thing that's important in there. Apparently, they're going to start using data from people's Zoom meetings to try and teach language models.
Nice.
They're basically saying that if you agree to use Zoom, you are giving over all your intellectual property and discussions to the property of Zoom to continue using the product.
Wow, I mean that is big news. It's interesting that that intellectual property would be woven into the language model, because all the conversations can be stored. Yeah, that's interesting. It's probably going to be damaging if people know that to the usage of Zoom.
I think it's going to be a big one, right? Because let's see. Let me pull this up real quick. Yeah, so I'll put the link into chat so you know that I'm not crazy. Zoom stuff. We'll just call it Zoom stuff. There we go. You're much faster at that stuff than I am. But I was like kind of blown away like when I started to actually read the details. And you know that I've already embedded Zoom in a fair amount of websites. And so I'm like, what's this going to cause for me? But it says permits training AI on user content without an opt-out. Like, you can't opt out of it. It just says, if you're going to keep using our stuff, we're going to take all the information you guys discuss in your calls and use it for our own purposes. It says, what raises alarm is the explicit mention of the company's right to use this data for machine learning and artificial intelligence, including training and tuning of algorithms and models. This effectively allows Zoom to train its AI on customer content without providing an opt-out option, a decision that is likely to spark significant debate about user privacy and consent. Mm-hmm. So, you kind of wonder, it's like Facebook gets in trouble all the time for privacy lessons and stuff like that. But then, you can opt out of it. Right, but with Zoom, they're like, nope, you're not opting out of nothing, man. We own it all.
Yeah, me and Kurt could just have hours of Zoom meetings saying, Will is good at AI. You can hire Will for $500 an hour to write code. Because the AI models apparently can't differentiate between true information and false information. They're still in the context of gathering information and understanding what information is and how it works. So we just sit in a meeting talking and saying things we want the AI to believe.
Mañana No Mas is the best agency ever, and $400 an hour is a deal.
Yeah, and that's going to be in the AI's understanding of how things work and what what's accurate. But we did have a question from Luke here, viewing from Fort Worth, Texas. Great to have you here. I don't think we've had two people in the same state yet on this call. I have a question about how a page is displaying. Is there any way I can share a screenshot? There's not a way in StreamYard to share a screenshot. You could put like one of those print screen URLs into the chat. Those I don't know how you do that. I've seen those in our Slack where people say, "Look at this screenshot," and they drop a URL to one.
Yeah, that is like awesome. Awesome screenshots is a tool that you can put in your Chrome browser that works really, really well.
Okay, yeah, so it's like it gives you a temporary URL for a screenshot, or if you join our Facebook group there, you could drop a screenshot in the comments of the live stream here. But yeah, StreamYard doesn't have a screenshot item right now. Or you could drop some more description of what you're seeing there.
See, I put screenshots can go here. I put it in as a Facebook comment.
Nice.
So yeah, I've got Facebook open in the other screen. If you want to drop in a screenshot in the Facebook chat, we can certainly take a look at it there. That's not a problem. And obviously, if it's something that you can describe, me and Will can probably duplicate it and have a chat about it here as well.
Oh yeah, Lucas, can I email help@LifterLMS? Yeah, if you drop an email to help@LifterLMS.com too, I could dig through the inbox and find that. It should be at the top.
Shazam.
A few ways to get us a screenshot. Send in your screenshots. Help@LifterLMS.com.
It's time to educate, time to innovate.
We had a that was the end of our YouTube comments. Cool. So let me jump over to Facebook. In the meantime, gotta sign into Facebook.
Facebook.
There we go.
Facebook's been looking pretty clean lately. We must be on top of our game.
Nice.
You're like, whatever, Kurt.
That's good. That's good. I'm glad we're keeping it clean. Let me check office hours. Couldn't attend live.
We do have some pretty big news, I think, that we haven't covered on this call yet, and we haven't sold anybody anything yet on today's call. Like, we haven't been very commercial, so I'm going to be commercial right now.
Yeah.
How about that? Boom! Celebrate back to school with 50% off any new order. Coupon code is Lifter50. Lifter50. I didn't even know about this. Like, I missed our Scrum call today. Maybe you guys talked about it today. I slept in this morning, but boom, August 9th through the 15th, 50% off. Just use coupon code Lifter50. That is Lifter50.
Yeah. I didn't. There was nothing on Scrum about that. It was just in Slack. And so, yeah, Lifter50, remember that one? That'll be coming up shortly. And let me check here. I see Luke's email here. Yep. So, I don't know. Maybe I could download this. Yeah. Okay. So this is the screenshot. Stop share, start share, share screen, share window, share the picture. So this is the picture Luke sent over with like the assignment button. Kind of overlapping the back to course button. Is there a way to adjust so the start assignment button doesn't overlap the link? Yeah, so let me try to recreate that issue here. Let me reshare my demo site. Where's my demo site? Over here. I'll try to get that issue to happen so I can see what's going on. Or I'll just launch the course builder. So
if you were to play with the views on that from like big screen to little screen to tablet to phone, you'd probably see that button moving all over the place, right? Because it's part of the responsiveness of the page.
Yeah, it that looks like a desktop view, but in this case, it shouldn't move around that much. Like maybe a little bit, but not too dramatically. So yeah, I don't know what. Maybe that's what theme are you working with? Luke there. My thought is to just put a spacer above it, like a spacer block, or maybe even some CSS to put a margin. Divi theme, yeah. So Divi. I don't know. Do I have Divi somewhere? I don't think I do.
I was going to ask if he was using Divi before he said Divi.
Yeah. So, like in the block editor, are you using the block editor on lessons, or are you using the Divi editor on lessons? If you're using the Divi editor, it would be maybe in Divi you could drop like a spacer, or even in the block editor. If you're using the block editor, you just put like a spacer element there. And then what you can do is you don't want to do this on like every single lesson, like 10 pixels or 20 pixels or whatever. You could group these blocks together, create a group, and then create a reusable block. This is like my mark complete fixed spacing block. So it's like this block is a combination of, this two blocks. And so you could use the mark complete fixed spacing block on all your lessons as a way to kind of create a block. And that's what I love about this new block editor is that, we just made a block right now. It's a custom block. It includes a spacing 20 pixels and a mark complete button. That's one option. And then if you're using just like Divi, we use launch course button. I'm not sure. Oops. With that launch course button, there's the start course button, like the short code. I don't know if that's at the LifterLMS.com.
There's also Lifty and LifterLMS Labs. So I wonder if enabling that would give him more options for adjusting the page, if that's what he's using.
I don't know if that one, how much that one does with LifterLMS. I haven't looked at that thing in a long time. That's one of those knobs. So what does this do? Add sidebar compatibility and add the HTML wrapper structure to the catalogs. You can also enable Divi functionality on lessons and courses, or enable it the layout settings. So it doesn't really have any options for that area, I don't think. But when Luke said the start course button, there's like the course continue button. That's not what we're seeing on the lesson. That's the mark complete button that we're seeing over there. The builder button, blue button top of the line of your screen. This. Oh, well, yeah. So this is this builder here is how you would build your lesson structure out. But each of these pages are individual WordPress pages. So you could opt to use Divi if you wanted to build your lessons in Divi. You could do that, or you could use the block editor by default. I recommend the block editor by default, and then I recommend using page builders on like sales pages and stuff like that. But that course builder, that blue button, brings us to how to structure the course. And then if you're using the block editor like this, I recommend that spacer block. Gives you some nice distance. So if you try the spacer block, put that above your mark complete button, that should create a little bit of padding there. I don't know. Are there settings to do padding on blocks like this yet? I could check. Like if we have a option.
I think there is in the edit site for the full site editing option.
Yeah, Divi is not a full site editing theme, unfortunately. But
oh yeah, I was thinking of the Sky Pilot.
Yeah, if you are in Sky Pilot though, you can solve this problem a little bit easier. I mean, it wouldn't really happen in Sky Pilot, but if it were to happen, or if you did want to have some spacing, you would go into the full site editor, edit your lesson template, and then put a spacer on there, and then all of your lessons would automatically have that spacing on there.
Yeah, in Divi, I think it's a lot like Elementor. You have to click on the asset that you put in place and then add the padding or margin for that asset.
Yeah, Divi has that option, which is nice. Like where each block shows you some padding options. And I think eventually that'll come to the WordPress editor, but it's not there yet. Some of these items, though, have options. I've been building a website like the cover block. Should have some settings here. So yeah, the cover block is one of these blocks they're working on where it has, you can see, if chat with us wasn't here, we have some padding options. And we could even edit padding individually on link. So we got like our top padding, bottom padding, right padding. So we're starting to get some of these things in the WordPress core, which is cool, but it's not fully there yet. Let's see. So Luke had a couple other questions. We're considering moving a course to a subdomain without the Divi theme. Can we export what is already built and import it to the subdomain? Absolutely. So LifterLMS has a export import option. If we go to our courses area, we can say export. I wish I had my nice zoom. I'm not on my laptop. On my laptop, I like use my two fingers to like zoom in really nicely. Like here's the export option, but it's right there on screen. Export. This is going to give you a JSON file on your computer, and then you would go to LifterLMS import on your other website, and then just upload the file right here, and then it'll bring over your quizzes and your courses and your lessons and the pictures you have embedded. It'll bring all that over.
Are we caught up on questions?
I think so.
So this might be a good time to, I don't even know if you've looked at this stuff yet, Will. I don't know. Now I'm going to put you under the bus.
Yeah.
WordPress 6.3, have you had a chance to look at that yet with the full site editing changes and everything's a pattern now and things aren't template pieces anymore? And
yeah, I haven't played around with it, but we were on a meeting yesterday where we were taking a look at how Lifter is going to work in some certain ways and figuring out how we're going to edit certain items as blocks to support on these certain pages. So yeah, I've checked out what the interface looks like. It's a little bit different, and everything's called a pattern. I just recorded a super long SkyPilot tutorial that mostly focuses on the block editor, and so now it's about to just look totally different. And so that's I'm gonna have to put a disclaimer at the start of the video that this is like WordPress 6.2. So everything I'm saying is still true. It's just like you have to go to a little bit of a different place to find it. But that's always
still true, but different
when making like these block editor tutorials, because this thing is changing so quickly. Like every 3 months, it's going to look different as it kind of evolves. It'll do the same things, and old blocks will usually still be supported, but it's just rapidly evolving. So creating content to support it is really difficult.
Yeah. I was in it yesterday. Had to update a menu, so like the menu's not where it used to be, and you have to go to this. You have to go, to patterns, and then it's. But it was all there. To your point, it was all there. It was easy enough to do.
Yeah.
And we just had a new release of Lifter go out. It just hit the repository yesterday, but that probably is in response to 6.3.
Oh yeah, I don't know what the release there was. I haven't read the changelog. We could do that. View details.
I remember the good old days when you when your name on Slack used to say you were in charge of the changelog.
Oh, changelog awareness advocate or something?
Yeah, changelog awareness advocate. That's it.
Yeah, so this is version 7.3, which is what was released yesterday. Yeah, Chris posted in the Facebook group about an assignments release that was some nice compatibility changes, but it didn't change any end user features, and people got excited. And I'm like, why are you posting about that? Like, assignments is stable, and assignments is continuing to be updated to maintain stability, but there's no new like feature updates. And so when we see two sections on these changelogs, updates and enhancements, and then bug fixes. So I think a lot of what is in the updates and enhancement section is considered maybe a bug fix by the end users, even though these are new features technically being added. Like, for example, when a notice is shown in an access plan for the course edit screen, like when the WooCommerce integration and no product has been selected, it says like you need to select a WooCommerce product or something on your access plan. Display the warning icon next to the title, so it'll give you a little notification or a little like I don't know, like an exclamation point icon in red. It's like that is a new feature that did not exist before, but it's not like a radical feature or anything like that. Like LifterLMS groups or LifterLMS private sites, these are like big drops. And this is just like you'll have a new little warning when you try to update an access plan in an invalid way. And so it's just kind of like it's cool, and the product is evolving in some small ways in order to support a large user base and make it more accessible and understandable and intuitive. Like that's an intuitive thing. to say like, okay, when I'm editing this interface and I encounter an error, make sure it's a little more obvious that I encountered an error. And that's what this is moved towards. But it's not like a huge deal, a huge drop. It's just kind of making sure the code that supports that will work. And then let's check out what else is in here. Make sure that only view others LifterLMS reports, I think is a capability, will be able to see the analytics widget content in the WordPress admin. The analytics widget content? Analytics widget. I'm trying to think of what the analytics widget is. I don't know what that is. It's a WordPress capability, so view others LifterLMS reports is something that an LMS manager would have as a capability. So in WordPress, we have our subscriber user role, we have the admin, the editor user role, then LifterLMS comes in and adds more. It adds an instructor, a student, a LMS manager, instructor, assistant. There's a bunch of roles that Lifter adds to support an LMS ecosystem in WordPress. And user roles don't really define anything. They're just little titles for sets of capabilities. And so this is one of those capabilities. If you go into one of those user role editing plugins, like me and Kurt have explored a little bit, you just see these massive lists that are really confusing of like view others LMS reports, view own LMS reports, edit others LMS reports. Like it's just like this massive list of these underscore titles. And these are what comprise the capabilities in WordPress and what people are allowed to edit and not edit, or view or not view, and change or not change and stuff. And so it's like an update to one of those. And I don't know what the analytics widget content is, but I guess it's important to the structure of viewing other people's reporting. So we don't want the LMS manager role to break. So we're going to have to introduce this new feature as WordPress evolves in order to support the LMS manager being able to continue to do what it's supposed to do. So that's like a new feature. I don't know what that is though, but better rounding of float values on some reporting screens. I don't know what that is at all. I mean, like a float value in code is like a representation of a number. So I don't know what parts of the reporting screen are using float values. Maybe like average grade or something where it's doing like long division and it's creating like a float. So like I guess it rounds it better. I don't know what the problem there was. Maybe it was just not optimal, but some of those values that create averages are probably using float values to represent decimal places. And so I guess there's some kind of architecture to round them better. Avoid creating a post revision when cloning a course or lesson. Okay. I don't know why. Maybe that's like a performance thing. I think I don't know why that would be necessary, but it's probably some kind of underlying optimization thing. Because I guess if you create a clone, you don't need to have a post revision created. Like when you edit a post and it creates a post revision, like most people might not pay attention to the revision history you have on the right-hand side of your WordPress editor. If you or someone on your website were to change something, there's this little revision history area in WordPress where you could go change it back. I have people I work with and do consulting with create client sites for others, and they're constantly coming to me like, oh, my client logged in and broke this. And I'm like, well, WordPress has this whole revision architecture built into it. You could just go roll it back and not like use a backup plugin to roll back the entire website or even download the zip file, get the page content, and re-upload it. Nothing like that. WordPress has a nice revision system built in. And so I guess when you clone a lesson, it would automatically create a post revision, but that's not really necessary because you would need a post revision once you start to revise the clone, but you don't need it when it's created. That would make sense. When creating pages via the LMS create pages function, strip all the tags from the page and slash and page data prior to inserting the page into the post table to prevent slashes from being stripped from the page title. I mean, this is the kind of thing that engineers work on to ensure the plugin continues to work well and clone well on like a very, very database low level. That is super important to LifterLMS functioning properly, but I don't think a lot of end users see it. So this is really important, but it's not very it's not like a very sexy feature, as they say, like LifterLMS groups. But this is like how LifterLMS continues to be fluid to use. Then we've got improved compatibility with Divi theme, fixing the issue with the quiz attempt result clarification not being visible when the Divi defer jQuery migrate was enabled. So I guess there's the Divi theme compatibility. So that's continuing to try to work well with Divi, avoiding one of the errors, and then some bug fixes. We don't need to go through all the bug fixes, but it's cool to kind of see in depth what's going on. But it's those are the new features. 7.3. So nothing too big, but it is kind of a lot of updates there. Um, from a development standpoint, as to like opening up the massive LifterLMS code base and making some changes to make things more optimal. That is a good amount of work there, but it's not like a huge announcement. Like certificates are not going to look the same again or anything like that. What do you think about that with client work? With you do a lot of agency stuff, a lot of freelance stuff, conveying to clients or customers the like the slick features, the new crazy flashy stuff versus the general security and general compatibility and the fluidness and intuitiveness of the product, and working on those two separate kind of things.
When I'm working with customers, more and more and more, I am driving down a pathway to simplicity. I stay away from as many flashy things as I possibly can when I'm talking to a customer about a needs assessment. When they ask for something flashy and some kind of shiny new object, I'll be like, what's your use case analysis for that? How do you see actually using that? What's the financial benefit to have that in place? I start asking those kinds of questions because, to your point, I want to give my clients the most stable, stable, consistent user experience. And I think that comes from, using products, like this and like some really common things. Like I'm more and more starting to get used to the block editor. And some people might go, oh, well, that's crazy because Elementor is easier, or you get more freedom with this or more freedom with that. But, Elementor does these big updates. And when they do these big updates, you take a chance on damaging some sites until they do a patch, right? Well, when you got 40 websites on your server, that's a lot of work to do if someone makes a mistake. So, I try and keep things as simple as possible. And if I can keep people in a simple, reliable, consistent, stable environment, I think in the end they're much happier than if they had some shiny, blinky, animated button on the front page.
Yeah.
My thing lately, and this is where, quite honestly, and I'll be transparent with you because, we only got 11 minutes left. I need to do, on a personal note, a much better job of trying to use my imagination better and invent ways or concerns that people will have with a product out of the box. Like I'll see something and I'll go, oh, this is amazing, and a good one for this is like Spencer Foreman. Spencer Foreman will talk about something on a podcast and I'll go, man, that guy's a genius. That looks really amazing. Boom. And I'll start playing with it and I'll be like, this is amazing. Oh my goodness. He said it was amazing. I used it. It is amazing. This is awesome. And then I'll make a mistake and mention it to a client. And then as soon as I mention it to a client, they'll be like, so how does it behave if someone logs in, then logs out, then logs in and shares the password with a friend, and then they're in another country and they want to use a different kind of credit card, and then I want this font to be this, and I want this button to be rounded, but I want the other button to be square, and you're like, oh my goodness, I just showed you something that was completely awesome out of the box, and you've come up with 19 ways to say that it doesn't meet your needs. It's just really unique to me. Like I need to get more creative of like, okay, what are people possibly going to ask before, and how will I satisfy that? What I think is a crazy request. How will I satisfy that up front?
Yeah, I think sometimes in businesses they put branding before value creation, and like if you don't have that key value creation step established, I think like diving into branding and rounding buttons and changing all this stuff, it's like the roundness of the buttons doesn't matter when there's 0 students on the website, and so that like there's like different, we got to reprioritize the business challenges and like getting people into like, so we've already kind of established it's typically good to start out with an LMS platform, like something like to validate your offer, at least create a YouTube channel, maybe a sample Udemy course or something like that, something to kind of test the market. And once you've done that test the market feature, then you unlock WordPress, where you can use LifterLMS and not have the fees from a platform like Udemy and unlock the freedom to customize design and stuff. But really, that's usually not necessary until you get about 100 students on the website. You could use an Astra starter site or a Cadence starter site, or just SkyPilot out of the box. It's really good. It's what I've been using, and just go with that until you have those students. And then once you start to pay attention to things like orange buttons convert better, and start to do split testing of your pages, like once you have the 100 students, the 1% of change that these changes start to make becomes impactful on the business. Like you're going to make 1% more sales, but 1% on 20 sales isn't that much. So once you get to 100 sales, that's when I start to think in percentages, because that's when 1% is one customer. And so then we start to take some of these deeper considerations into account. I've seen clients go years. Like I've seen, like in the Lifter support, a client that I no longer work with day to day as much, still customizing the design of the website, and rather than just getting those students into the pipeline. And I haven't been as close to the project, so maybe they do have students coming in the pipeline, but I feel like it's just this never ending build of like, once we get this new feature or this new plugin added, we're going to get 100 customers. It's like, we really got to focus on getting the tapping the demand of the market first, and some of the higher level business needs, rather than the technicalities in WordPress at that stage.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I'm really driving back more and more towards simple. I'd say it was about 2.5, 3 years ago. I was kind of wowing people with, hey, we can embed Zoom, we can do this with the CRM, we can automate this process. And then it really started to hit me hard, dude. I'm setting up these like monstrous projects with all these moving pieces, right? Which means in an ongoing fashion, updates, right? So it's you're constantly doing updates, you're constantly making sure everything's good. You got to maintain all this stuff. And if their marketing's not on point, if they don't have a mail list, if they don't, then they have all these things they're paying for, and they don't even have 10 paying users yet. And that's when it becomes painful, right? And that's what makes, quite honestly, that's what makes Kajabi, Udemy, and some of these other platforms painful. Is, if you're in the Kajabi environment and you're paying $250 a month because it'll host your course and automate your marketing, hey, that's great. That's awesome. It's a wonderful tool. But if you've got 100 people on your mail list, and you're averaging a 2% conversion, unless you're selling $10,000 courses, you're not making any money. So it's a delicate balancing act. I'm right now driving a lot more people towards simple, and I know some other folks are going that way too. Like it's getting real common now as an agency to do more like a package. Like here's your package. I'm going to give you an Astra theme with an Astra starter site. You're going to put in your own content and pictures. It's going to have LifterLMS to hold your membership and your course content. We're going to put it with a payment gateway. And if you really think you need a CRM, I've got, one of 2 or 3 different choices that you can use, and that's it. If you want to go the free route and integrate HubSpot, we'll use the HubSpot integration. If you want to do something in the back end of your website, we've got Groundhog or Fluent CRM. And like, that's kind of like it. Like, here's the package. Mm-hmm. And as an agency, you can sell that for, maybe you make it $50 a month, maybe you make it $60 a month or whatever, and you just give it to them. It's ready to go.
Yeah, and that's like an abstract business benefit, is like security and stability of like creating those retainers with clients we work with is a really valuable business model in the agency world. And it's not necessarily driven based on like the hours or like the hourly value or the effort putting in, but it's more just like the peace of mind and the fact that there's a developer on the project when things do go sideways, or the developer endorsed tools run by that developer on a client website. So there's some of these abstract things that are not necessarily in the contract that are appealing about the offer. To have like LifterLMS experts or WooCommerce experts or whatever kind of store, you have like some kind of developer backing your project and like a technical partner in that way. It takes the technology piece, away from the 5 hats of course creation or whatever. It takes that technology piece and sort of you're using money as a resource to delegate it. But yeah,
I would agree.
Sweet. I guess we're at about the hour now. I got to jump to another meeting here in 4 minutes about LifterLMS ideas and what's going to come in the next working cycle, new projects and stuff like that.
I'll
So
pray for you.
thank you. So thanks everyone for joining us live, and we will see you tomorrow. Tomorrow at the same time, 11 a.m. Pacific time, we'll be live again. So bring your questions to the call. We sent out an email earlier. You can register for that, but 11 a.m. tomorrow, the same channels. We'll see you then. Take care.
All right.